You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible. All right, folks, Alabama being Alabama, well, the Senate approved a measure late on Tuesday that would outlaw almost all abortions in the state, setting up a direct challenge to Roe v. Wade, the case that recognized a woman's constitutional right to end a pregnancy. It was by design. The person who crafted the bill said that was exactly what he wanted. Republicans, conservatives, white conservative evangelicals have been pining for years for the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade. Now, with 5 Supreme Court justices who are conservative, they believe that this is the moment. This measure, only 3 women had a vote in the legislature. On the Republican side, there are no women at all in the legislature. Here is Senator Vivian Figures, who is questioning Senator Clyde Chambliss about this bill. Lord, listen to this white man not be able to answer a question. All right, we got some issues with the audio, so guys, please let me know once we have that fixed, because I would love for y'all to hear her questioning Chambliss. Actually, it was a trip because here you got a man who cannot answer the question at all, and there was a late moment where they tried to actually have an addendum to say in the case of rape or incest to allow a woman to have an abortion. In Alabama, they said no. They actually said no. That's what you're dealing with, folks, in the state of Alabama. Here we go to my iPad, please.
Say aye. No. Any opposed? Motion passes. Committee amendment is tabled. Senator Chambliss.
There was no motion. There was no motion.
There was a motion. He made a motion.
He didn't even make a motion, Mr. President.
Hold on, excuse me.
He did not make a motion.
Now, folks, this was last week. That video was from last week when they were trying to actually push this thing through. And that was in a committee hearing where they didn't even want any debate whatsoever. That's what they actually tried to do last week. But this week, they've actually moved forward and passed it. Do we have the video now where the audio is fixed? Okay, so we're still having audio issues. And so let me see if I can find what Vivian had to say. Give me a second here. I want to bring in our panel right here, first and foremost, to talk about this here. First of all, let me explain to you that the bill bans abortions at every stage of pregnancy and criminalizes the procedure for doctors who could be charged with felonies and face up to 99 years in prison. It includes an exception for cases when the mother's life is at serious risk, but not for cases of rape or incest. It now moves to the desk of Republican Governor Ivey. The question is, will she actually sign it? Joining us right now, A. Scott Bolden, former chair, National Bar Association Political Action Committee, Julian Malveaux, economist, president emerita, Bennett College, Dr. Jason Nichols, African American Studies, University of Maryland. Julian, when you look at this, I mean, again, white conservatives have been desperately wanting the Supreme Court to outlaw Roe v. Wade. This bill, the one in Ohio, the one in Georgia, they're passing these all across the state, all across the country, because they want the Supreme Court to rule, because they think by having Gorsuch, by having Kavanaugh, Alito, Roberts, and Thomas, that they now can overturn Roe v. Wade.
Well, first of all, Roberts is a very conservative jurist. Conservative from the perspective that he's not going to overturn. I don't think he will overturn Roe v. Wade. Remember, he is the jurist who sided with Obamacare. He moves slowly on things. I think that...
well, for him, all of a sudden, to become the swing vote is scary. But go ahead.
It is very scary. But he is the swing vote. And the other thing, I mean, protest theater had high art when those women went dressed like the Handmaid's Tale with the red on. And, you know, it really does speak to this. What these folks are trying to do is control the means of production. And the means of production in terms of population are women. The other thing that we must think about is that these are the same states that have the highest poverty rates. So if you're so interested in having children come here, how come you're not interested in having food stamps and Medicare and all the things that children need to thrive? These people are hypocrites and they're crazy, but they have a strategy.
Hold on one second. It looks like we have the video fixed. So let's go ahead. I'm going to show you what the senator had to say as this was being debated on the floor of the Alabama Senate.
Well, do you know what it's like to be raped? No, ma'am, I don't.
Do you know what it's like to have a relative commit incest on you?
On me, no, ma'am.
Yes, on you. Okay. So that's one of those traumas that a person experiences, just like that child experienced. And to take that choice away from that person who had such a traumatic act committed against them, to be left with the residue of that person, if you will, to have to bring that child into this world and be reminded of that every single day. Some people can do that. You know, some people can, but some can't.
Sure.
So, but why would you not want a woman to at least have that exception for such a horrific act?
Because I believe that when that unborn child becomes a person, and we need legal guidance on when that is.
But that's not your business. That is not your business. You don't have to raise that child. You don't have to carry that child. You don't have to provide for that child. You don't have to do anything for that child. But yet, you want to make the decision for that woman that that's what she has to do.
I want to make the decision for that child.
Well, Senator, you know there is no law in this country on the books that says what a man can or cannot do with his body. Did you know that? And it's really amazing that when you talk about abortion, that means somebody is pregnant. But guess how that woman got pregnant? By a man. She can't get pregnant any other way.
All right, Scott, again, when you listen to that, and you listen to all of these white men staying in the Alabama Senate.
There were many.
And they were all
They were
white.
all white
And to her point, look, it's not like they're advancing a bill to say let's have statewide vasectomies in Alabama.
Not at all. God forbid that. Controlling or making a decision on a man's body. Whew. Let me say this. The Republicans always... Another great hypocrisy of the Republicans is they want all these children to be born rightfully or wrongfully, and then when they get here, those red states who get more government entitlement than anybody else, then they complain about government entitlement. They want to cut the government entitlement to the children that they're forcing these women to have. I mean, it's hypocrisy. But the other thing is this. You're right about getting to the Supreme Court, but in the 11th Circuit, I think we're in the 11th Circuit, you got to go, somebody's going to file a lawsuit, and then it's got to go to the 11th Circuit, and then it's got to go to the Supreme Court. It may not make it there, despite the number of conservatives that are in these lower courts, but watch what happens at the Supreme Court. They want the denouement. They want the showdown, if you will. This law is as restrictive as the pre-Wade laws were in the 40s, 50s, and part of the 60s. And so they're going to get their showdown, whoever the president is. This is why the election in 2020 becomes even more important, because you had these Supreme Court justices who may or may not still be there, but only 15%, Roland, 15% roughly of America believes that we need the abortion laws changed in this country. The other Republican and Democrats think they're just fine, or they need to be even less restrictive.
But Jason, the reality is it doesn't matter. Republicans don't care about that polling data. They want this law overturned. The reason they were so supportive of Donald Trump, two things. Actually, three things. They want Roe v. Wade overturned, they want same-sex marriage overturned, and they want most civil rights laws overturned.
Absolutely. And I would actually add a little bit to what Julian said, and that is that Alabama is number 2 in the nation in infant mortality. So if you're concerned with the lives of children, you know, why not the children that are actually born that are dying in your state? Almost 9 out of every 1,000 live births. So obviously that's not really the concern here. It is about, as Scott said, it is about controlling women's bodies, making decisions for them. And I would also say that this also, you know, it's all a windfall from, you know, voter suppression. We know that 1/3 of the African-American men in the state of Alabama cannot vote due to a felony conviction. You know, you have all these issues with trying to keep black people from voting. And we know that black people I think would be
I think the
on the front
abortion
lines.
bill is about keeping black people from voting. By making them have all these babies.
No, it's
I like it, kind of.
Actually, hold on. I want to go to Senator Linda Coleman-Madison, who joins us via FaceTime. Senator Coleman-Madison, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
So what was it like to stand there on the floor and you're listening to all these men talk about this issue? To what Jason just said, if Alabama's #2 in the nation with infant mortality, they don't want to address that. They don't want to address the health care in Alabama, don't want to address the economics in Alabama, but they want to spend this amount of time on this issue.
We spend a lot of time on this issue. It comes up every year. I've been in the Senate for 17 years, and almost every year the same issue comes up. For several years, this bill was sponsored by the males in the Senate. And you get tired of fighting the same battle. But if people look at, and I've just received a note that the governor has just signed the bill.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a sad state. That is a sad state of affairs for the state of Alabama. And it says a lot to the whole world how far we have come and yet how far that we have taken a back step by this one act of redefining the rights of women. Defining and eliminating choices for women, not only this generation, but future generations. So it's just sad. You have a majority-held legislature held by men that are making decisions that govern the bodies of women and their health and welfare.
When we played the video of one of your colleagues challenging one of the male Republicans and saying, have you ever been raped? And why should the person that carried that baby? And for him to say, I care about the baby, let's just cut to the chase. You know doggone well, if somebody black or somebody Hispanic raped one of their daughters, no, I'm gonna go there. Ain't no way in hell, ain't no way they're saying, oh yeah, we gonna love this child, we gonna carry the baby. That's nonsense.
We're having that black baby.
Yeah.
Senator, go ahead.
You're absolutely right, and that's the point that I was making. You can't tell me that you are making these laws. If this happened to your wife, your child, your mother, you're going to pass a law and say that it's okay. We're going to love this child. We're going to keep it. You're going to have it because the law that you passed now, that you have placed and forced upon everyone else, you've got the means and the wherewithal and the connection to go to another state and get an abortion. This is history repeating itself.
Obviously, they want the Supreme Court to rule on this. The sponsor said that's why he even pushed the bill.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The House sponsor, it really isn't about the life of the baby or the sanctity of life. It's about reversing Roe v. Wade. That's what they said. They understood this bill is unconstitutional. That is not the issue with them. They want to be the one to get to the top of the hill, plant that flag, and said it was Alabama that caused a reversal of Roe v. Wade.
Last question for you. I was watching the discussion on The View, and Meghan McCain was talking about how she is ardently pro-life, and Sunny Hostin was talking about her being raised Catholic, also being an attorney, and she says, well, the Catholic Church, Meghan goes, well, the Catholic Church is absolutely pro-life, and she says, yeah, but they also are pro-gun control, and they also anti-death penalty. So that's what amazes me when I listen to these people who say that they're so pro-life, but they are some of the biggest supporters of the death penalty.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm pro-life, but quite frankly, my rights stop where yours began. And although I have my own convictions, I would not demand or force my feelings, my convictions, my beliefs, my religion on anyone else. I will tell you about it and give you that choice. I think all women should have that choice. This bill was not necessary, number one, because if a woman wants to have the child, she has that choice to have it now. But I don't think that you have the right to force me to have one when I choose not to. So what you've done is injected your own faith or beliefs or whatever on me. I have no choice. You have taken away my voice.
Senator Linda Coleman-Madison, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Final round discussion here before we go to my next story. Again, what is interesting to me is when I see this whole conversation, they don't want to have a discussion about the economics of how much women make in that state. They don't want to have a conversation about rural hospitals shutting down in Alabama. They don't want to have a conversation about high cancer rates and things along those lines. And so my deal is, if y'all want to have a medical conversation, if you want to have a healthcare conversation, let's have it. Yes. But to somehow say, let's narrow this thing just to abortion, it shows that they don't want to deal with these other issues.
Precisely. Well, my line is, look, if you don't like abortion, don't have one. I don't know how many the Orange Man has paid for. So that, just saying. But more importantly, this is a tax on poor women. This is an imposition on poor women. Any person with means, you got $1,000, you can go to the next state, you can come up north, you can go, people used to have to go to Mexico. So, but women who are on limited incomes or making the minimum wage, they don't have those kind of dollars. And basically, they will end up with children that they don't want. Now, let's not jump the gun. This is going to be appealed. They want to go to the Supreme Court. It's going to be appealed. It won't go into effect immediately. But this is something of great concern, especially for poor women, and many poor women, a disproportionate number, are poor women of color. So this is really, a black tax.
And again, for me, Scott, this is okay. So again, if we want to have a discussion about abortion and have a discussion about the issue of life, okay, we're going to talk about resources. We're going to talk about Head Start. We're going to talk about all those things, and that, to me, is what they never want to deal with.
Because they can't win that debate. They can't win that discussion, and so therefore they avoid it. Look what the GOP does in the House and Senate over the last 2 years. They just don't debate it. They just don't want to import their will on it. This is a rallying cry. Look for coalitions of civil rights and human rights groups, women groups, and others to coalesce around this issue now and make the push against the courts upholding this clearly illegal law. The precedent on this, they've got to honor, the courts do. And so if the courts strike it down, the appeal process will run its course, and it'll run to the Supreme Court. And the coalitions have got to have the best and the brightest and the largest push against what promises to be a big GOP push for this same debate. The fight's going to end and begin, the real fight, at the Supreme Court. And so we ought to stay tuned for that.
And Jason, before Henry, go to my iPad, please. In fact, Alabama is number 1 in the country for infant mortality. Number 1. Go ahead.
Yeah. So,
and where are they for entitlements? Right. I wish you pulled that up. They're one of the top entitlements.
And
yep.
poverty.
Go ahead.
Where are they with
poverty?
I'll just say, you look at places like Uniontown, Alabama, where they have terrible environmental racism that is actually claiming lives of not only young people but older people and other people. If you're concerned with life, and not only that, but when we're looking at these laws, I don't think anybody would call themselves pro-abortion. But when you look at these laws, they're actually going to create a black market and put a lot of people in danger. So I don't think people are going to drive to Mexico. I think what they're going to do is somebody's going to do some dangerous process in their house, which is going to put a lot of women in danger. You're going to have people who are dying because of this even more. But the people in Alabama, the people at the top, the Republicans, they don't care about who dies and who lives, particularly when it comes to women.
All right, then. And so, folks, we will see exactly what happens. And this is go to my iPad, please. This is the governor of Alabama signing that law. And she said, today I signed into law the Alabama Human Life Protection Act. To the bill's many supporters, this legislation stands as a powerful testament to Alabamians' deeply held belief that every life is precious and that every life is a sacred gift from God. But like I said, they support the death penalty. So what she said is a flat-out lie. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, inviting you to come out swinging and join me for a day of golf at the University for Parents Golf Tournament on Saturday, June 22nd in Southwest Atlanta's Wolf Creek Golf Course. It's a golf tournament with a purpose, a fundraiser for the University for Parents, a program designed to empower parent learners through education, inspiration, and support. This is all tied to Susan Taylor's mentoring program, National Cares Mentoring Program. Now, when you empower the parents, you also empower the children as well. The location of the tournament is 3000 Union Road, and the shotgun start time is 9 a.m. To register, go to www.u4parents.org. The letter U4parents.org. Hey guys, tomorrow, do me a favor when you do this here, put the website at the bottom of the screen here. It's a little small on that flyer. For more information, call 770-316-3487, 770-316-3487. And I certainly hope to see you there. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.